Good. Hi, welcome to Living Your Truth. First lesson, let's understand our wiring. Now, a lot of people may consider themselves sensitive. They may notice the things that other people notice. They may feel a little emotional. They might even overreact or be accused of overreacting. Because to you, you are not overreacting. You are merely reacting. Now, I was going to have people take a test, but I think if you're attracted to me, that means you already know you're sensitive. There was a lovely woman named Dr. Elaine Aron who has written a book about being highly sensitive. I'm going to say that we're not going to call this highly sensitive anymore. We're going to call this extreme ability to notice and process things outside of ourselves. So can we get a woohoo? We're really good at noticing things. And what makes us even better at noticing things or having our noticer up set on high is having a childhood where we may have been a little ignored, or we might have been handled like a normal child, just push them off to the side and keep things moving. And that tends to get a little hard on kids who are sensitive. In fact, there's a very high number of people who are alcoholics who are also sensitive. They're self-medicating. Or there are a number of people who have problems with neuroses that started because they are highly sensitive. So let's see. Do we have, yes, good. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the different traits of being a sensitive person. A sensitive person is really, really, really careful at processing. They may be considered slow sometimes because they're taking their time and they're checking things out. Some people are accused of being shy. Some people are actually really extroverted and out there, but they're got their little feelers out so hard that they notice every little tiny thing. So I'm not going to say that there's one form of being sensitive, but I am going to say there is one way that all sensitive people tend to be sensitive, and that is if you get too much coming in, you tend to overbalance, overstimulate. So I will say that if you are a person who is a little on the sensitive side, or is a little bit on the I must check and organize all, and I'm not saying OCD because that is a neuroses. That's not a trait of who you are. So you know who you are, and you do know that one of your very first things is that you notice everything, and it's very difficult to turn stuff off. And that is the basis of this class. By noticing so much, and you cannot turn it off. So our outline for the class is that first we're going to understand that it's okay to be different. Then, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. I sure wish I knew how to do it. No, not me. Goodness me, I'm having a very hard time. I wish I knew how to mute people now. I'm going to pause this for a second. Hi, again, I'm Sally, and it took me a minute to figure out how to mute people. This is a new, that's why I said in the email, bear with me, this is brand new, I've never used it before. So again, I was talking about our depth of processing, and I'm saying our because it's part of me. That being said, let me introduce myself. My name is Sally Reid, and I am an intuitive and a counselor. I help people Oh, you people, did you unmute yourselves? Good, everybody's muted. Good, sorry. And I notice a lot of stuff. See, I just got distracted there. And I do wish I had a team. And I have been sensitive my whole life, and that's why I understand what it's like to having a hard time processing things, having a hard time moving on with your life and trying to pick what to notice and what not to notice, and understanding what can be done to make your life get smoother. Because frankly, sometimes you feel like you're going to end up in the loony bin. You know, am I with you? I was right there with you. And if your brain doesn't go wanky, then your body goes wanky. Because we process so much through our bodies that if we're doing our very, very depth of processing, meaning noticing every little stimulus that comes into us. Like you're going to notice a dog barking down the road and then the squirrel jumping across here, but you're really supposed to be doing something else and you're blah, blah, blah. See, we tend to multitask, and it's not really multitasking. What it is notice shifting. We're going to notice one thing at a time, click, 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 click. And if we have to notice too many things at once, we get exhausted and have to go home and lie down in the dark. Right? Totally. So, that being said, I am a noticer too. And my goal, it's one of those, God is my witness. I want to help people not be overwhelmed by their noticing, because I once was a heavy noticer who did become very, very sick from my extreme noticing. And what I figured out and what I learned, I want to share with you in this class. So, we know that we are processors, heavy processors. Most people who have been successful in the world have figured out how to attention shift quickly or lock attention and really get a deep focus and get deep into a task if you are undisturbed. If you are disturbed, then you have a little bit of a problem. So, I'm going to teach you how to get quickly in and out of a focus in today's lesson. How cool is that? It's going to be really cool, and I'm going to download that from my guides. I do have guides. They are sometimes hilarious, sometimes opinionated, and they know stuff, and thank goodness, I'm really happy. And they tell me that everybody can hear them if they choose. So maybe by the end of this class, you'll be able to hear them. So another thing, I'm going to moving on, another thing that is really common with people who are great noticers, and we touched on that before, is you can get overstimulated. Remember as a kid, when things just got to be too much, and then you got in trouble for shutting down? Do you remember that? Or people called you a crybaby, or people called you, you know, you're being a baby, you're being a whiner, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I know that happened because and here's why it happened. You had just TMI, and you didn't know how to turn it off. And you were expected to have it to function exactly like the rest of the people. Now we're going to circle back around to the rest of the people. There are about 15 or 20% of human mammals, primates, and actually this extends out to herd animals, social herding animals. You can be a fruit fly, they're socially herding, or a horse, or whatever, but what I'm saying is approximately 15 to 20% of all populations have this innate, genetically hardwired ability to notice things. It's freaking amazing. I mean, you may have noticed that you've noticed things that other people don't notice. And they think you're pretty weird for noticing them, right? But that's a genetic trait. That's actually a selection. You know, you got to think natural selection for that one. So let's think about why it's an advantage. There's two strategies. There's the people who don't notice, and that, you know, they damn the torpedoes, they just come charging right in, and, you know, the world is just fine and we're just going to plow in. But, you know, imagine you just go ahead and plow in and there's a freaking lioness in that bush, and then you're dead cookie, right? You're done. You're lunch for the lion pride. But imagine you're a noticer and you stop and go, ooh, there's a lion over there. You survived. But there's a disadvantage to this. You tend to be, if something bad happened before, you remember it for a really long time, and you're very, very, very reluctant to shift past the past bad experiences. So that's a burden. And that's another thing we're going to focus on. And some of you may have found yourself in therapy, we'll call it, because of that particular issue. It's a genetic trait. You can talk it out all you want, but unless you shift it energetically, it's going to be there. It just is. So let's think about how this trait developed to be an advantage, okay? So if an individual is in the minority, right? We are the sensitive, i.e. the noticers, are in the minority. So when the individuals are in the minority, and we're the supreme noticers, like we notice, wow, there is a bush over there with berries that all these people are just walking by and not noticing. We survive because we get to eat the berries that they didn't notice. Or we're also in the minority, so we figure out the best ways to get to safety, or the most effortless ways to traverse our world. I mean, how many people here know the best shortcuts to get through traffic? I mean, you got them all mapped. Oh yeah, I got to get off at this exit because it's always going to back up at this corner. I see the cars, admit it, woohoo, you know it. And you also know that when you do get caught in traffic, you're going to give yourself a little crap about it. I'm a big traffic thing. Yeah. Anyway, so there's one of the reasons why we are noticers, because genetically you're selected for it. Another thing that makes it super great about being a noticer is we're feelers too. We feel what is going on around us. Now think about this. When you walk into the room, in a room you've never been in before, do you feel this room? Do you take its temperature to make sure it's okay? You do this so quick you don't even know you do it, right? You're going to take its temperature. What if you're walking into a meeting? You take 1001, 1002, and you read the temperature of the other people you're about to meet with. I know you do it. Sensitive people, i.e. noticers, make awesome salespeople. They make really, really great doctors, nurses. They're even amazing at judges. And here's why. Because judges are really great at cutting through the bullcrap. I mean, if you're a noticer, you're really great for that. So let's think of another reason why it is an advantage to be an extreme noticer. One of the really great ways to be an extreme noticer is to notice when things are right, to really, really move towards things that you love. So the thing about a noticer is they notice pretty things very quickly. They'll notice, ooh, here's me, pretty flower. Huh, right, bird. I notice that. Music stops me in my tracks sometimes. And that's probably the case with you, that you notice beauty very quickly too, and you gravitate towards it. Good food. I was talking with a friend today, and whenever we talk of a city, a new city, the first thing I'm going to remember is, oh wow, there's really great food in that city. Or, gee, I'll go to Portugal, or I'll have a house in Spain. I love the food down by Madrid. It's all about the food. Because you appreciate the finer things in life if you're a noticer. They're not wasted on you. They are absolutely part of your everyday makeup. Another thing about being an extreme noticer is you're quick to notice changes. I mean, think about that. Everything's going along smooth, and there's a very, very slight change. You're almost like the canary in the coal mine. Ooh, something's different. And you'll investigate. And that is a big advantage. It's huge. So basically what the advantage is that we are able to make use of subtle information that is not available to many, many other people. So right there, this huge burden you've been carrying your whole life is actually the biggest gift that God could give you if we learn how to use it properly. So the guide said that we are going to learn, oh gosh, now I don't remember what they said a second ago, but we're going to learn how to, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember. I am going to unmute everybody, or actually if you remember, you can unmute yourself and tell me what I remember or has forgotten. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. And if you can go in the chat box, that's good too. Oh yeah, we're going to learn how to turn off. That's it. That's right. We're going to learn how to turn off extra sounds. Bingo. I'll remember that. We're not going to do that. Oh, they want to do it now. So we're going to do our first exercise very, very quickly before I've even done anything else. Great. So our very first exercise is about turning off other sounds. Ooh, this one's direct from the guides. This one's really good. So if you're in a place where you can sit and you're taking notes, put down your pencil or stop typing. And I would like you to become extremely aware of where you're sitting, any noises besides my voice, the feel of your skin in your clothes. I mean, just get super, super noticey about, you know, if there's a fan on, do you feel the breeze on your skin? Can you hear possibly traffic outside? People in the next room? Get super noticey. Now, one by one, focus on only one thing. And that's it. Focus on just the wind of the fan or just your butt in the chair. Focus very, very clearly on that one thing. Notice everything you can notice about the one thing. Breathe in and breathe out and notice that one thing. Now quickly tell me, have you noticed any of the other stuff? No? Did it go away? I hope so. That's how you stop the overstimulation. You pick one thing you want to notice, and two, because it's something the HSPs can do, and that's the term Elaine Aron uses. Noticers can do. They can notice very deeply. So you focus as deeply as possible on the one thing. Now, if you find it's very difficult to do that, practice by only having two things to notice, not a lot of things to notice. Practice in a very quiet room. Practice in, you know, in a knot when you're already overstimulated. You know, give yourself a break. Okay? Practice when you're not already overstimulated. You'll appreciate it. So, I wish there was a way I could interact with you. Can you somehow tell me if you were successful or not? If you can't, that I understand. I'm going to now you're all unmuted, and if you were successful, please feel free to say yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Who's speaking?
Maggie.
Oh, thank you for joining. And I'm so glad. And it's such a no-brainer to do that. But I had never known that. That's a new one from my guides, and it only takes a second to just notice one thing. and not try to notice more than one thing. It's the act of cutting down on the number of things you have to process that keeps you from being overstimulated. I am so pleased. So take some time and practice that. I'm going to put you all back on mute. You can make noise in the background. So, great. That was really fun. So now I'm going to go, we're going to lead into overstimulation. Now that we know how to stop the overstimulation, we can talk about it without getting overstimulated. That'd be pretty cool. So overstimulation is a big problem. Even when you don't realize you're being overstimulated, and here, this is a good example. How many people go to airports? They fly in a plane, they get off the plane, they physically haven't moved at all, but when they get home, please, God, kill me. I am so over it, right? I mean, even a shower doesn't get rid of it for me. I am completely affected for maybe a day just by being in that little aluminum box with so many other people. I'm cool. I'm maintaining. I'm not crying. I'm not screaming. I'm not complaining about the seat back right in my face, right? But I am being overstimulated. So if I had known that trick about focusing on only one thing and turning off all the other things, it would have been really cool. But now I do know it. So in the background of overstimulation, it costs us energy. That's why we're so exhausted. We may not have done anything all day, but our senses had to be on high alert. They had to be sorting, watching for lions in the bushes all day, even though all we're doing is schlepping through an airport. And even if we're not late for the flight, I mean, just add, haul and boogie down the concourse, and it's usually like gate 35, you're at the frickin' end and you're late, and you're dragging your carry-on, right? Add that to it, and then you're really exhausted. So overstimulation is a problem. Another place that it's really common to get overstimulated, believe it or not, is in a grocery store. Or, God forbid, Walmart. I mean, how many people get Walmart overwhelmed? I do. I try to avoid it. Because number one, there's always a screen talking to you. There's always at least 3 children screaming. There is way too many colors, way too many sounds. Very, very large room that has a lot of hard surfaces that echo, echo, echo. And so it's basically set up to be an overstimulation booth. People walk through there no problem at all. But it can really, really just suck you dry, especially if you're feeling a little off. So that brings us to our next trait of being a noticer. You become a little reactive when you're off. Of course you do. I mean, and it's not just because you're a girl. Boys, you do it too. So that's one of the highly typical traits of our wiring, of being a noticer. It's just so easy to upset your apple carts, is the best way I can say it. Because of this high level of emotional reactivity, this hair trigger stuff, people can begin to label you with kind of bad names, right? Oh, she's such a B word, or he is a word, right? It's funny. Girls are female dogs and boys are their hinder parts. That's odd. Never thought of that. See, squirrel? Off I go again. But I will say that because of this ability to be highly reactive and this noticing, it does cause us to become very easily overstimulated and also alternatively get very, very low, which is what heads us to the psychiatrist. Right? So we're going to circle back around and talk about some of these reactions. Because we are so sensitive and we are such a noticer, when we were children, we were busily noticing everything our parents did. And so if you had a bit of a troubled childhood, it now puts you at a much greater risk of becoming anxious or depressed or super like mouse woman, or mouse guy. And I mean, the percentages of people who are of a sensitive nature, who were treated a little less delicately when they were younger, who later developed technically neuroses in adulthood, is pretty high. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I believe that I'm sure you could look them up. Non-sensitive people, like you can have a brother and sister in the same family, and one's non-sensitive and one's sensitive, and they'll look at you like, well, I didn't live that childhood. What childhood are you talking about? So, I mean, that's pretty common. And it makes you, number one, feel very unvalidated, right? What do you mean you're not having that feeling? Because, raise your hand. We get that a lot. So, that's just part of and parcel of what we have. So, guys are saying something about that not having feelings. When a person has a feeling and that feeling is being disregarded or actively subdued by another person, then the feeling has nowhere to go. So when the feeling has nowhere to go, it tends to get locked inside your body, or a rule is created about that feeling. They want me to explain. Okay. So feelings and emotions are energy. Right? Everything's energy. But feelings and emotion are just like the digital energy that comes through our telephone. That's, digital electricity that becomes words, right? I don't know how it works, but it works. Well, it's the same thing with our emotions. We get energetic stimuli that gets figured out by our brains in such a way that, ooh, I'm having a feeling. And this feeling is this. And then immediately after that, another human says, no, of course you're not having that feeling. You are crazy. What do you do with the feeling? You either shove it down, which it doesn't like, and then it becomes angry, right? Or you become angry because you don't want to be unvalidated. Or you create a rule, meaning when I have this feeling, bad things happen. So if you get it enough, when I have this feeling, bad things happen, eventually that turns into textbook anxiety. I'm afraid I will have that feeling again, or I have a hint of that feeling and I can become anxious. So now we're going to circle back about the energy that gets pushed down. It gets stored within our body. Unless we have a good way to release the energy in our body, which we're going to get today. Yes, we're going to get that today, they said. Unless you have a good way to release the energy that's in your body, just like coffee press. Oh, we're going to do coffee press. Cool. It gets stuck, encapsulated in the spaces. This is weird, but true. Our cells at the really, really minute, electron microscope level have a lot of space in them. I mean, really, a lot of space. And they're explaining to me how it happens. Just like insulin carefully turns excess energy, i.e. Sugar molecules, into fat molecules for us. Isn't it nice? Actually, it doesn't turn it into fat. It puts it in a fat molecule. You have the same number of fat molecules in your body if you're skinny or if you're fat. Just the difference is some of them are fuller than others, right? So they're saying that it's a very similar process. So you have certain places, go-to places, where you store excess energy of emotions. Some people it's the neck, some people it's the low back, some people it's the shoulders, yeah, tension in the trapezius. Sometimes it's the back of the shoulder blades, the back of the heart space, but everybody has their spot. Ooh, I love the hips. A lot of people use hips. So just as your thyroid releases insulin, and the insulin carefully clears the excess sugar out of your bloodstream and shoves it into the fat molecules, so does your self-preservation of your mind push the excess emotions out of your vibrational noticing into your body, into those little places that you like to store. Now that's pretty funky. So how do we get rid of it? Well, you can come to me and I can help you. No, just kidding. Shameless commerce. No. But there are ways, and this way right now that I'm about to give you, that I call the coffee press. So we all know how, those coffee presses work. You put the coffee in and you let it steep, and then you push the little pressy down and it gets all the grounds on the bottom. So you can do this one standing up or sitting down. You can do it lying down, you can do it imaginary, it doesn't matter. But this is what you do, how I do it. I breathe in and I open my arms to pull in new energy. And as I exhale, I push the energy down through my body, clearing everything out. And you do it down the front of your body, very slowly, breathing in and relaxing, and pushing down into the earth. Breathe in again. And now you're going to do the imaginary back of the body, but since you're not an orangutan, you can't put your hands behind all the way down your body. Do it in the front, but you are using your front. That feels there. See, right between the shoulder blades. That feels so nice. Just release it down. It may take a couple of passes. If you're super sensitive or develop a sensitivity to this, you'll notice that your hands will catch in certain areas, that it's full. Do it as often as you want. This is a really quick one to jump in the restroom before a big meeting and clear the crap away. It really works. Just breathe in very deeply, and as you exhale, push the energy down out of your body. I'm going to give you another second to practice that. And I want you to notice how you feel when you have finished. I'm going to unmute you and say yes if you feel a difference. Anybody feel a difference?
Most certainly, yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Those are two so quick and so easy. It's just, so you just got two really quick hacks. Those are quick life hacks. Hop in a bathroom. Notice one thing. Hop in a bathroom. Squeegee it out. It's amazing. So, and I haven't even talked about this thing yet. So, I want to talk about the actual science behind this thing, behind being a noticer. And it has to do with the serotonin levels in your brain. It's been tested ad nauseum. And serotonin is used in at least 17 places in the brain in order to move information around. And as it turns out, highly sensitive people are pretty weird that they have this variation that results in lower levels of serotonin than the non-sensitive people. And you would think we'd have higher, but no. It's actually we have lower levels of serotonin. And that's why when we're stressed, we have to go and get antidepressants, because what antidepressants do is raise our levels of serotonin. So this is a weird thing. You know, you would think that if we're so sensitive, why don't we have a ton of serotonin? But no, we have a naturally reduced amount of serotonin. And this has been tested in rhesus monkeys who were sensitive like humans, and it's also been tested in humans. And I mean, it's a real genetic marker. You know, you can actually get your blood drawn, and you can check and see with you want to do your genome and check and see if you are officially a sensitive person. It's pretty funky, but that explains it. That really does explain a lot, and this is why it explains it. If you need serotonin to feel okay, right, because you do, to feel safe moving information around your body and moving information in your brain so you can keep an eye on your body, and a stressful childhood or situation or moment reduces the serotonin, over time it'll naturally reduce a great deal. Now, in the studies they did in the rhesus monkeys, you know, gosh, those poor things. You know, you've seen the pitiful babies that they take their mother away. Those kids are, you know, duh, psychiatrists. Of course a child is going to be unhappy if you take its mommy away. Really? What a surprise. Anyway, they did test them, and their levels of serotonin had reduced to the level of being not able to function. So no, you're not crazy. You just don't have enough feel-good in your brain. That's it. So what can we do to get the feel-good back? That's a very good question, my guides say. To get the feel-good back, there are a number of things you can do. Interestingly enough, the most simple, instant hack to feel good is to do the one thing we do all the time. In fact, it's the first thing we did to become human. Breathe in. Oh, what a surprise. Because you know what happens, guys, admit it. When you get upset, you tend to tense your diaphragm a little bit. And it's really hard to breathe in when you got a tight gut or a tight chest. So take a minute when you're feeling tense and breathe in. Which is why when you're depressed, if you lost your job or you're having a really bad relationship, doing a lot of good exercise helps you feel better, because you're breathing in. It's not you're moving your body. Yeah, it feels good to move your body. In fact, you have to breathe hard while you do it. I know, it's pretty funny. You thought all that running was actually making you feel better, but no, it was the fact that you were having to breathe hard while you ran that made you feel better. That's why exercise makes you feel better. You're getting your breath into your body and out of your body. There's an exchange of air. There is a man who has, his name is Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. He has a huge movement called Art of Living, based specifically on how great you feel if you breathe. He has a whole battery of different meditations, Kriya, he calls it, where you breathe in a certain way. Well, everybody calls it Kriya, movement and breath. That's yoga, it's Kriya. But that being said, he has a way to just breathe in and breathe out, and it's very, very orchestrated, very, very scripted. And when you are finished, you feel like God is living inside your body. It is pretty freaking awesome. And all he's done is breathe. It's seriously amazing. So there's your third quick way to get back to homeostasis. Breathe. There's a new study about having people who are suffering from various and sundry problems doing yoga, breath yoga, and very mild movement yoga. And they did a study about whether or not the people felt better before the yoga, during the yoga, or after the yoga. And you know, you realize it's a no-brainer. Everybody feels better after the yoga. Part of it is because of the movement. Part of it is because of the breath. Stagnancy, as we all know, is good for pretty much nothing. Unless, of course, you're an anaerobic bacteria, and then you love stagnancy. But last time I checked, none of you are anaerobic bacteria. At least I'm not. So let's go to the next thing about this serotonin thing. And this is what's really weird about the serotonin. If you have too much serotonin, it kind of makes you stupid. You ever notice, like, when you're really, really high after running or some other physical activity that's a lot of fun, your brain kind of gets dumb for a minute? Mine does. So people with super high levels of serotonin may be happy and bouncy and having a good time, but they don't remember things well. So this genetic variation causing the lower serotonin literally gives us better memory, better decision making. It's bizarre. And overall better mental functioning. I mean, the fact that we have less serotonin makes us smarter. Isn't that neat? I love it. And that's a real bona fide, proven scientific fact. So let's go to the next one. We're talking about a high level of empathy. That's another trait that's pretty typical of noticers. How many people cry at TV commercials? Try at movies. Country music lyrics get me occasionally. Yeah. I'll cry about radio. News. If it's bad news, sometimes I'll cry about it. Because we're feeling other people's pain. We have a high level of empathy about what happens to other people. And I'm going to say there's nothing frickin' wrong with that unless it hurts you and you carry it around. Here's what it's good for. Parenting. You make a really awesome parent if you've got your stuff on straight. Those poor people, those little short people that you're raising, you know where they are and what they're doing pretty much all the time. You got that little radar thing going. And you care deeply about them. In a way, it's not that, your love is bigger than anybody else's. It's this thing where you just notice every little thing. Now, sometimes for non-sensitive or even sensitive children, that level of scrutiny can be oppressive. But you certainly know how to take care of them when they're little tiny babies. As they get to be older, it gets to be oppressive to them, and they may lash out at you, generally after the age of 13. It's pretty funny. So, this high level of empathy is what helps us to feel the temperature of the room, to know how to make other people comfortable, to know what to do when there's just, something wrong, you know how to fix it. It's that level of empathy that it makes you a really fabulous salesperson. You understand what your client needs ahead of time. It makes you a really, really amazing waitress because you're so great at being able to serve people. You know what they want before they want. Back in the olden days, you made you a really good wife. Yes, honey, of course I'll buy that for you. I'll go out there and fix that for you immediately. Oh, did you need some more ice in your tea? Okay. No, it doesn't happen anymore. Well, it may. But what I'm saying is this ability to sense comfort and or discomfort in others can be an amazing gift, or it can be the most horrendous burden on the planet. How many people just hate it when they know people are mad at them, or you have let somebody down, or you have done the wrong thing? Oh, you can't let it go. It just comes and gets you and gets you and gets you, right? Because it's that empathy. It is the empathy that we have for others that that is just, I don't know, it's almost overwhelming when we know somebody's angry with us. So now imagine when you're a child and you don't have the good screen, they're reminding me that I haven't told you that small children prior to the age of 6 have a brainwave that does not filter or discern. Everything is taken in as one whole. They call that theta level. And so if you are a young child, you cannot discern if anger in general, not directed specifically at you, or anger directed specifically at you, you can't tell the difference between the two. You can only feel the anger or dissatisfaction. That is one of the greatest causes of stress for small children. If it's a super emotional house, or there's a lot of yelling and a lot of anger, mom and dad hate each other, that kind of thing, that kid's going to suffer because they can't tell the difference. So that high level of empathy can be rather a burden, but it can also be seriously awesome. And the very last thing is noticing the subtle. I love this one. Chefs love it too. Chefs cook for people who can notice the subtle. You can just tell, oh, that little hint, just that little thing at the end, ooh, is so awesome. This wine, oh, it is just great with this, right? What about going to a museum and just somebody changed the light bulb and it just changed everything? That the light is warmer and it changed the way everything looks. Or going to a play and noticing the play of the energy of the actors, the subtlety of the actors. That's just music, feeling the live music go through your body. There's times, I'll do it now. I'll think about it, I'll cry. It's amazing. So, that's weird. So we noticers notice the subtle. Now, what good is this? Let's think. What if, back in the darkest of dark, we noticed a slight in a leaf? Yeah, what could it be? A bird? How about a tiger? You see what I mean? We'll notice smells. Tigers smell really strong, especially males. So we notice smells. Yeah, perfume? Please. We notice sounds, whether they're subtle or not. We just notice sounds. We'll notice persistent sounds especially. So this trait, taken to extreme, can be an amazing burden. I mean, full-on neuroses. You tick them off. But this trait managed is a superpower. Superpower. It is just amazing. So, I'm asking my guides if there is another thing they wanted to teach you tonight. Yes. It's about, we're going to beat this one to death. It's about understanding how you're different and giving yourself the grace to be different. And I mean grace. If you have to go slow and you feel like you need to go fast because people are expecting something of you, give yourself the grace to go slow. If you are noticing something and somebody else isn't, give yourself the grace to validate that noticing. That's what the guides are talking about. Most people, you come into trouble when you're trying to be like the other 80 to 85% of the population, the high serotonin in the brain, the happy-go-lucky, non-noticing people. So give yourself the grace to be precisely who you are. Do not belittle yourself or should on yourself. No more shoulding on yourself. Accept the fact that you are different and you were made that way on purpose. Totally. Completely and totally. So we're going to review that number 1, this is a normal trait. Number 2, it's got a reason and a purpose. Number 3, it is a superpower. Totally. So you're going to remember the first trick, which is noticing one thing when you are about to be overstimulated. Now the next trick is the coffee press. Coffee press. And whatever it was the guides gave for the last one, I don't remember. I hope you guys do. I should write these things down, because when I'm channeling, that's another thing. I just don't remember. I really don't. Oh, it's giving yourself grace. There's that one. But there was a trick. I'm checking to see if there's anything else I wanted to cover. It's the hard time letting things go. We're going to look into that in the next lesson, about how you can gracefully understand your need to not let things go. And it's about safety and security. It's about how difficult it is to let things go for a very, very good reason. It's because you're trying to avoid pain. That's it, plain and simple. Since we feel things, and I really feel them, you know, like when you're happy, oh my gosh, you're over the moon. And when you're sad, please dig a hole, I'm going to fall in it. Right? Almost to the level of bipolar disorder, which is a metabolic problem. Anyway, it's that memory, the combination of our memory, you know, that I can remember. I have, like my son used to say, I have a rememory like an elephant. We remember stuff. And the fact that we are so super sensitive that causes us to hold on to past bad experiences and be vigilant so they don't happen again. It's as simple as that. And our next session, next week, we're going to focus on strategies and tips and tricks for dealing with that. So I'm going to unmute. There we go. So if you have a question or a comment, this is the perfect time. Anybody have any questions or any comments? You're unmuted. Unless you have muted yourself and don't want to be muted. Unmuted. Okay, nobody has any questions. Nobody has any comments. That's okay. That's cool.
I have a comment. The third thing was to breathe in.
Ah, that's it, breathing. Yeah. It's funny, when I am channeling, I just flat don't remember what I say. Simple as that. It's funny. But yeah, breathing. It's the thing we all do. But we forget to all the time. Well, next time I'll know how to use the technology. And I really appreciate it. And we're going to go more into this genetic trait of being a noticer. Did you guys learn anything? I hope so.
No? Yes, certainly. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for getting me in last minute.
Oh, hey, I'm a noticer. I noticed at the very last minute. And I really, really appreciate everybody's trust. And this recording will be available and emailed to you hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
And feel free to email if you don't get it. And also, you can email questions if you think of them later. I truly appreciate you, and we will continue to understand our amazing wiring. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.